As a forewarning, before we begin today's episode, please be advised that the following content may contain details of disturbing events, including violence and other sensitive topics, which some listeners may find difficult or triggering. Listener discretion is advised. Thank you. Hi, Night Watchers. I'm your host, Haley. Today, we dive into the deeply unsettling and still unsolved disappearance of Kristin Modafferi, a bright light extinguished far too soon, leaving behind a chilling mystery that continues to baffle investigators and haunt her loved ones. Kristin Modafferi was born on June 1st, 1979. Her family lived in Charlotte, North Carolina. Hey, Charlotte friends! Living there until Kristin graduated high school in 1996. It's important to note just how bright Kristin was. So intelligent, in fact, that she skipped a grade and graduated high school early, showcasing a maturity beyond her years. Her academic prowess didn't stop there. Kristin earned a full scholarship to North Carolina State University, where she pursued a major in industrial design, a field that spoke to her creativity and her interest in how things were made and how they could be improved. This incredible achievement allowed her to attend her dream school without financial burden, a place where she could truly explore herself and her passion for design. After completing her freshman year at NC State, Kristin decided to spend her summer taking classes at the University of California at Berkeley. These credits would transfer back to her studies in North Carolina. Kristin was particularly drawn to photography classes, not just to fulfill academic requirements, but because she was genuinely excited to capture the beauty of the Golden State. Inspired by the stunning sights of San Francisco, with its iconic landmarks and vibrant culture, and its surrounding natural areas, from redwood forest to the Pacific coastline, this was a dream opportunity for Kristin. As someone who loved the outdoors, the prospect of exploring and photographing this new environment was incredibly appealing to her. She was truly excited about this adventure and also fulfilling her education. Kristin's parents supported this plan, with the condition that she found roommates and a place to stay. Kristin utilized Craigslist, a relatively new online platform at the time, for finding various things, including housing, and ultimately shared a somewhat impersonal living situation, a home in nearby Oakland with 4 young men. It's worth noting that Kristin was reportedly quite matter-of-fact and seemingly indifferent about being the only female in the household. Now, it's crucial to understand that Kristin and her roommates were just that, individuals sharing a living space. They largely kept to themselves, each leading their own separate lives with their own schedules, friends, and academic pursuits, and they rarely crossed paths beyond the basic necessities of shared living, creating a somewhat detached atmosphere within the house. So full of youthful anticipation for her summer adventure, a summer filled with new experiences, academic pursuits, and artistic exploration, Kristin embarked for California on June 1st, 1997, her 18th birthday, a significant milestone that should have marked the beginning of an exciting chapter. Destined to make the most of her short time in California and likely wanting some spending money for her adventures, Kristin decided to start her job search soon after arriving. It was also really important to Kristin, who had a naturally warm and engaging personality, that she find friends and build a sense of community to keep her company while she was out west, far from her familiar life back home in North Carolina. Soon enough, Kristin found a job at a local coffee shop, Spinelli's Coffee, located in the bustling Crocker Galleria in San Francisco's financial district. This indoor mall was home to a variety of boutiques, cafes, and offices, typically filled with professionals during the day. Now, this part of town is inherently a safe and heavily trafficked location during business hours, so Kristin, likely focused on her work and the novelty of her new surroundings, would not have expected to encounter any harm during her daily commutes to and from the coffee shop. The contrast between the daytime safety of this area and the unknown danger that ultimately befell Kristin is particularly unsettling. 3 weeks after moving to the area on June 23, 1997, just a few weeks after her 18th birthday, Kristin finished her shift at Spinelli's at 3 o'clock that afternoon. This wasn't the last time she was reportedly seen alive. Approximately 45 minutes later, around 3:45 p.m. that afternoon, Multiple co-workers of Kristin claimed that they saw her on the second floor of the Crocker Galleria where the coffee shop was located, in the company of an unidentified blonde woman. According to these co-workers who seemed to recall the interaction clearly, Kristin and the blonde woman appeared to be walking together, talking animatedly and simply hanging out. The interaction seemed casual, simply like two people who just knew each other. There was also one word, though perhaps less firmly established, that Chris had mentioned plans for attending a party that evening at Land's End. Details about this potential party were vague. It's unclear who was hosting or how Kristin knew about it, but Land's End was a known spot for gatherings, especially amongst younger people. Whether this was a definite plan or just a passing thought remains unknown. Now, whatever devastating and puzzling events transpired in the hours that followed June 23rd, we know this with chilling certainty. Kristin did not show up for her first day of her photography class at the University of California at Berkeley. Considering that Kristin had already paid her tuition of $925, a significant sum for a student, her absence from this class, something she was reportedly very much looking forward to, is particularly perplexing and deeply concerning. It strongly suggests that something significant and likely against her will occurred in the short window of time between her leaving her shift at the coffee shop and the scheduled start of her class. Adding another layer of confusion and worry to this unfolding case, Kristin also had an unclaimed paycheck of $400 waiting for her at Spinelli's. It's difficult to imagine a young woman, especially one seemingly responsible and in need of funds to enjoy her summer, simply abandoning this earned money. This detail strongly hints that her disappearance was not voluntary. Eager to hear about Kristin's first day of class and how she was continuing to settle into her new life since her move to California, her parents called the Oakland home phone only to be met with silence. No answer. 2 days passed, each hour likely filled with growing anxiety, and still no call from Kristin. Interestingly enough, it wasn't Kristin who reached out, but rather one of Kristin's roommates who called her parents back 2 days later, relaying the unsettling news that they had not seen or heard from her either. It's unclear which roommate made the call or what prompted them to do so at that specific time. Now, while it might initially seem strange that the roommates wouldn't immediately notice someone missing, especially the only female in the house, Kristin's roommates reportedly didn't know each other's daily habits, schedules, and comings and goings particularly well. Given the transient nature of summer living arrangements in their separate lives, they might not have immediately registered her absence. And since Kristin had been so busy since moving out to California, juggling a new job and preparing for classes, they initially, perhaps naively, assumed that she was simply out enjoying her newfound freedom and having a good time. But that initial assumption was quickly dispelled as the silence stretched on and no one, including her family, had heard from her, and she failed to attend her paid-for class. Immediately boarding a plane, Kristin's parents were determined to get answers about their daughter's increasingly concerning whereabouts, desperately trying to hold on to hope while battling the worst-case scenarios that undoubtedly began to creep into their minds. Maybe she had met a new friend and gone off on an impromptu adventure. Maybe she really was just incredibly busy with her new schedule and would call soon. But why wouldn't she call? Something fundamentally did not make sense to them. Once they made the local police aware of what was happening, the initial and frustratingly dismissive thought was that Kristin, now 18 and legally an adult, was simply a runaway, free to make her own choices. This initial reaction, sadly not uncommon in missing adult cases, disregarded the established character of Kristin and the unusual circumstances surrounding her disappearance. But Kristin's parents vehemently refused to believe this simplistic explanation. They knew their daughter intimately, her character and her clear plans for the summer, and they were certain she would not just abruptly run away and abandon her promising life and her clear intentions for the summer. Pressed to find answers by Kristin's distraught parents, the police interviewed all of the roommates, and they were reportedly ruled out as suspects relatively early in the investigation. This conclusion was likely based on their cooperation, lack of any apparent motive, and their own accounts of minimal interaction with Kristin. As police continued to search the Oakland home for any clues, they found something eye-opening in Kristin's bedroom trash can, an ad torn from the San Francisco Guardian that read, "Friends, females seeking friends to share activities, who enjoy music, photography, working out, walks, coffee, or simply the beach, exploring the Bay Area. If interested, call me." The San Francisco Guardian was a free weekly newspaper known for its alternative and progressive content, including personal ads. Sadly, by the time police reached out to the Guardian to see if it was indeed Kristin who issued the ad or someone else entirely, the newspaper had no record of who actually placed it. A significant missed opportunity that could have potentially identified the mysterious blonde woman or provided other crucial leads. So this discovery immediately circles us back to that unidentified blonde woman seen with Kristin. Did she create the ad? And did Kristin respond to it looking to make a new friend in a new city? Or did Kristin place the ad herself and did the blonde woman answer it, perhaps with sinister intentions? Sadly, none of these crucial questions were ever definitively answered, because this mysterious blonde woman was never identified, becoming a central haunting figure in this unsolved mystery. 2 weeks of agonizing silence and no concrete answers dragged by. Then, on July 10, 1997, a disturbingly and ultimately false lead emerged when a man phoned KGO-TV, a local news station, claiming that Modafferi had been murdered by 2 women and her body disposed of under a wooden bridge near Point Reyes, a rugged and remote coastal area north of San Francisco. The caller was later identified as 36-year-old John Onuma, who lived not far from the Crocker Galleria. When questioned by police, Onuma admitted that he had falsely implicated that 2 women, stating his motive was a bizarre and unrelated personal vendetta. He felt the women were conspiring to get his girlfriend, Jill Lampo, fired from her job at the local YMCA, where they also worked. Onuma vehemently denied ever meeting Kristin Modafferi. Officials did search Onuma's apartment, and in a chilling detail, they found traces of what appeared to be blood. However, forensic analysis later revealed that the blood belonged to a cat. Sadly, it was also revealed later that Onuma had a history of placing personal ads looking for women in The Guardian, the same publication where the mysterious female-seeking friend ad appeared. His ex-girlfriend even claimed that Onuma had exhibited controlling and manipulative behavior and had a pattern of using women to lure other women, a disturbing detail that certainly raises the specter of whether the unidentified blonde could have been somehow connected to Onuma. Despite these unsettling details and the inherent creepiness surrounding, police ultimately had to release him because they lacked any concrete evidence directly linking him to Kristin's disappearance. It's also a detail that continues to fuel speculation that Onuma moved back to Hawaii shortly after this incident, a departure that may find suspicious and that certainly raises further questions about his potential involvement, however indirect. To this day, over 2 decades later, the disappearance of Kristin Modafferi remains unsolved, a bright young woman who embarked on what should have been an exciting summer adventure vanished without a trace, leaving behind a haunting trail of unanswered questions, a mysterious blonde woman, a cryptic personal ad, a bizarre confession, and a heartbroken family still desperately searching for the truth and for closure. Thank you for joining me on Nightwatch. As always, feel free to drop any thoughts in the comments and feel free to look over the resources used for today's episode in the show notes. Thanks. That brings us to the end of today's episode on Nightwatch. As we move into our special summer series, we want to hear from you, Night Watchers. What cases have kept you up at night? What mysteries do you want us to unravel? Head on over to our social media, where you'll find all the links in the show notes, and submit your ideas for upcoming episodes. But that's not all. As a special thank you for your engagement this summer, one lucky listener will have the incredible opportunity to join me right here on Nightwatch as a guest speaker to discuss their chosen case. Imagine sharing your insights and your theories with our entire audience. So, get those true crime gears turning, send us your most compelling cases, and you could be joining me behind the mic. Until next time, Night Watchers, keep watching the night. See you guys next week, and don't forget to submit your ideas.